Europe's second best competition comes to a close this Wednesday, May 22nd at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. It's the Europa League Final between Atalanta from Italy and Bayer Leverkusen from Germany. If we look back to the semifinals to see how these teams got here, Atalanta drew away to Marseille in leg 1 by a 1-1 score. They easily took care of the French side back in leg 2, coming back to Italy where they won 3-0 to get here. For Leverkusen, the train rolls on. Their undefeated streak kept going. They won 2-0 away in Italy to Roma before suffering a late scare in leg 2 in Germany in leg 2 where they fell behind 2-0. There was less than 10 minutes to go in that game. Looked like they might have needed to go to extra time and see that undefeated streak end. But that just wasn't meant to be as Roma suffered an own goal in the 82nd minute. Josef Stanisic scored deep into stoppage time to draw Leverkusen level 2-2 and see them through to this final and also keep the undefeated streak alive. Now let's look at the Europa League Final odds and Atalanta, Bayer Leverkusen predictions for this final. If we look at the odds over at Bet365, Atalanta is the underdogs at plus 320. The draw, plus 270. Leverkusen, odds-on favorites at minus 125. Now, those odds are to win in regulation. If you want to make sure you're covered, if this game goes to extra time or penalties, then you will need to make a bet on a team to advance or a team to lift the trophy, however your sportsbook lists it. Atalanta to lift the trophy by any means, 2-1 odds, plus 200. Leverkusen heavily favored at minus 250. Over 2.5 and the under 2.5, both minus 110. Both teams to score yes. It's favored at minus 125 and the no at minus 106. Leverkusen and Atalanta head-to-head meetings in the past have not seen very many. This is just the third meeting between these teams. They did play recently, though, in 2022 in this tournament in the Europa League. Atalanta won 3-2 at home and also 1-0 away. For Atalanta, they got a win on Saturday playing in Serie A. It's 2-0 over Lecce, giving them 66 points. That's 6 clear of Roma for the 5th spot in Serie A, and that should give them enough to lock up the top 5 spot to get a Champions League spot next year. Their goal difference is far superior to Roma's, and there's only 2 games left to go now in Serie A. Now, that win came after a disappointing defeat last week in the Coppa Italia final, where they suffered a defeat in a different final, not the Europa League final, but they had one of 2 chances to win a trophy there and came up short, losing 1-0 to Juventus last week, despite holding Juve to just 2 shots on target. Juve did score early in that game on one of those 2 shots early in the 4th minute. Atalanta had 13 shot attempts, but were actually held to 0 shots on target themselves in the Coppa Italia final. That defeat, though, is their only one loss across their last 9 games, and also the only time they failed to score in any of those past 9 games as well. And if you go back further, Atalanta has just 4 defeats across their last 18 games, and they have scored in 16 of their past 19. Now, there aren't many significant trends to look at for goals conceded or over-unders in Atalanta's games. They've kept clean sheets in 3 of the last 7, but they have just 5 clean sheets in their last 21 games. The over is 8-5, over 2.5 in their last 13 games, but the under is 4-3 more recently in the last 7. Now let's switch over to Bayer Leverkusen. The Bundesliga season wrapped up on Saturday, and Leverkusen won again, this time 3-1 at home to Augsburg at 28-6-0. They became the first team to not lose a single game in the Bundesliga season and finished an incredible 17 points clear of second place Stuttgart. But in the bigger picture of things, Leverkusen are now undefeated in an even more incredible 51 games across all competitions this season and are in line for that historic treble, if already winning the Bundesliga title. Now the Europa League Final is up next, and they still have the DFB Pokal Final coming up as well. Now in all of those games, those 51 games, they've only been kept off the score sheet 1 time, and that came way back in January. They've now scored multiple goals in each of their last 6 games, scoring 18 and allowing just 6. They have, though, conceded a goal in 6 of their last 8 games and have needed lots of late-game heroics to keep this incredible winning undefeated streak alive. Let's look at Atalanta and Leverkusen best bets now. Like I said, in Leverkusen's 51 games, they have scored an incredible 135 goals and scoring in all but just 1 game. So you certainly have to expect them to get on the score sheet here. They've done it 50 of 51 games. Atalanta could also be missing Rafael Toloi and Sead Kolasinac on defense as well. And you could look to Florian Wirtz to score. He's had success in the Europa League with 11 career goals in this tournament for Leverkusen. On the Atalanta side, Gianluca Scamacca has scored in each of the knockout rounds as well for them in this competition. Now, this is a huge game for both. It's a huge game for Atalanta coach Gasperini, who hasn't won a trophy with Ladia yet, despite overseeing plenty of success with this team over the last 8 years since he's been in charge. Atalanta hasn't won a major trophy since going all the way back to 1963. Now, I like both of these teams. They've both been super exciting to watch this season, and you really couldn't go wrong, at least from a fan perspective, with either team winning this game. Finals are often a lot tighter, even though these teams both look like they should score plenty of goals. Finals can often be much tighter, as no one wants to make a mistake early on. Now, Leverkusen often need late goals to get their wins, even though they do always seem to get them. A lot of them come late, so there's always value on a Leverkusen late goal. And there's also certainly better value on taking Atalanta to win if you believe this game could be close, since they are a much bigger price at over 3-1 odds. And even if you thought this could be even closer, take a draw as well could also be good value if you see some extra time or PKs here. But even a tight game should and could still see a goal coming from both of these teams. We could even at least see a 1-1 and need extra time. When a team hasn't lost the game in 51 games, though, that's a trend I just simply cannot go against. But both teams to score has hit in 5 of the last 7 Bayer Leverkusen Europa League games as well. So I'm going to trust there being at least a goal from both teams here. Now, bet 365, that would be minus 125. You could create a same-game parlay, go bet both to score, and Leverkusen to lift the trophy by any means. That would come in at plus 160 for some better value there. If you switch over to Caesars Sportsbook, I found both teams to score at a better price at minus 115, and that's what I will make my bet in this game. Both teams to score between Atalanta and Bayer Leverkusen in the Europa League Final, minus 115 odds over at Caesars Sportsbook. That's a wrap on this year's Europa League competition. What's your best bet? Make sure to drop it down there in the comments. Be sure to follow the channel for more soccer picks coming up the rest of the month and season and summer. And good luck with your Europa League Final bets this week.